Awesome. So today we're going to be actually doing some things. You know, I've been going over kind of a little bit of a review of some of the pre-work you guys should have done, maybe in a different light a little bit. But as far as basic JavaScript, we're going to get more into HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, the combination tomorrow. But we're going to focus on JavaScript today, and specifically Node.js as a whole. So we're going to create a Node.js project. I'm going to walk you guys through that. I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about NPM, the package manager, a little more in depth, and try to explain what's going on behind the scenes when you're creating a Node project, and then talk a little bit about the example that we're going to be doing today. Let me go ahead and bring that up so I can reference this thing. I must have gotten rid of it. Oh, it's fine. We're going to cover, now as far as JavaScript goes, though, we're going to cover functions again. We're going to talk a little bit about asynchronous JavaScript. And we're going to go through a few other, oh no, I do have it. Yeah, I have it here. Took a couple notes before the thing. So we're going to cover objects, which we didn't do yesterday. We're going to refresh on functions, and we're going to talk about callback functions a little bit. And we may talk about promises. We're going to use promises today, but I'm probably going to give you guys a high-level explanation of that. We can spend a lot of time on callbacks and promises. I more so want you guys to get a functional idea of how and when to use them. We're going to discuss, I think, like I said, asynchronous programming to a degree, because Node.js is inherently asynchronous, right? And then we're going to talk about object-oriented programming in JavaScript, how, as an overall thought process that wasn't really applied to JavaScript. Object-oriented programming is kind of like a methodology, right? It's kind of a way of creating applications, defining things as objects, and then assigning those objects certain ways of doing things through methods and whatnot. And then I want to demonstrate two NPM packages in particular, and we're going to talk about them in more detail as we go ahead. But I'm pulling in two so that you guys can get an idea of what NPM, the value behind NPM, and some considerations that you should look for when you're doing your own projects. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and we'll go to a folder here. I'm going to keep using my demonstration repo that I created with you guys on Monday. All right. Now, I'm actually going to move this one Jarvis CLI folder. I'm going to name it Jarvis CLI backup. Okay. And then I'm going to create. So let's talk about the project. Let's try and make this realistic. So you're at work, right? You are an application developer, and someone comes to you and says, hey, Mr. or Miss application developer, I need this thing. I need you to create some software that does a specific thing. Well, what is that? So your boss, your manager, whoever was sent to you will start to discuss the requirements with you. And this is when you really have to be listening. So I'm going to create a requirements document, do requirements.md for Markdown so we can kind of get a clear view of this. And I'm going to say, okay, this is going to be a document. It's going to have general requirements for our piece of software. And what's the name of the software? Well, they come up to you and they say some name that you have no idea what they're talking about, but you'll gain some context throughout this discussion. They say, but I'm telling you that we're going to create a Jarvis CLI. All right, well, okay, cool. What's that about? So one of the first questions you ask when you're talking about, hey, anyone that comes along and says, hey, I want you to create this app. All right, the name isn't even really that important. As a developer, I need to then think about a couple things. Well, okay, what do you want the app to do? What's the point? So we'll write that question down. What is the app supposed to do? And then they say, well, okay, and since I'm the one giving the requirements now, it's pretty easy. I can give you a clear answer. I want to get data about the Avengers and, you know, search specific characteristics of those characters. Okay, so that sounds like a very business type sentence. You'll hear sentences like this a lot. But again, your responsibility as a software developer is to take this and translate it down into concrete action items that you can then go and write code to fulfill. So you say, okay, all right, you want to get data about the Avengers. Let's break that part down. Where do you want to get your data? Oh, well, can't you just get it from the internet? That's what we say. So we'll ask that question. Where are you getting this data? And their possible response. And I'm walking this through in a very explicit way for a reason, because 90% of the job is being able to face a situation and derive what people actually need, right? And then translate those high-level needs into very, very technical solutions. So I'm going to give you a possible response. Well, can't you just take it from the internet? My answer to this is yes. Yes, I can. So our response then would be, though, I want to take it and give you, so I would say, well, yes, but there are many sources. Have you considered any specifically? And then it keeps going down this route, right? We're going to talk a little bit about this data, because one of the biggest points of software project is figuring out where the heck your data is coming from. So, okay, all right. And then they're like, well, yeah, I heard they have this thing, a Marvel API. All right, there you go. Now you gave me something, Marvel API. Now I can go and look up Marvel API and see what options I have here. Maybe there's multiple Marvel APIs, maybe one's more accurate than the other. I can figure that out. I just needed you to tell me where you wanted to get that data from. All right, cool. So we now have where we're going to get our data from. I have a couple questions from my own personal process about this, but we're still in requirements gathering mode. All right, so again, let's go back to the statement. I want to get data about the Avengers. All right, so we know where we're getting our data from, and that's cool, but how do you actually want to see your data? How do you want to see your data? Well, this is a good question, and the reason why I'm asking this question is because it could be a web application. You guys are learning how to do web development here. It could be a mobile application. It could be iOS, Android. It could be a myriad of different things. In this particular instance, they want a command line utility. So I want to be able to type commands into my command line and then receive data back. I want to be able to see it in my command line. Okay, so that's where the title is coming from. CLI stands for Command Line Interface. So we're creating a Jarvis, right? Jarvis, kind of this overarching, I know in the new Avengers he's Vision, but Jarvis is this overarching mind that knows pretty much all there is to know about most things, and especially the Avengers. So I want to be able to interact with this command line utility and it tell me information. So you want to see your ability. Okay, so this tells me that it's going to be a CLI. Cool. And then I can look up specific tools and things that would help me there. How do you want to see your data? All right, I know where I'm getting my data from, the Marvel API, and search specific. Then you want to search specific characteristics of those characters. So that tells me that I don't even need to ask as much about that. I know I'm getting my data from the Marvel API, so I'm going to put another note under here and say, look at the data structure. Okay, we talked a tiny bit about data structures, but this is going to go a lot into objects, which we're about to cover. So I have my high level rec. This is not super technical. This is pretty business like. But now I have something to go off at least to search, okay, how am I going to implement what I'm going to implement? Then we have, it's our job to think about, and depending on where you're at, you may get these from one of your peers, like a lead developer or someone. But then you come up with the technical, right? The technical requirements. Okay, what we're expected to use in order to fulfill this task. Sometimes it's up to you. Sometimes, like I said, someone gives it to you. In this case, I'm going to give you your technical requirements. You need to use Node.js. You need to use the Commander and Marvel-API NPM packages. Okay, and it has to be done in an object-oriented way. Object-oriented way. Okay, so let's pretend, for example, let's say I was the lead developer and I got these high-level requirements from my business people, and then I went ahead and did the research to answer some of the questions around here. Where do I find that Marvel API? Which one do I use? I took a basic look at the data structure. I know that I need to do a CLI. What's an easy way to do a CLI based on the skill set of my developers? Node.js popped up as a contender, so I decided, okay, we're going to go with Node.js. And I saw these NPM packages that I knew would be useful. So instead of making you do all that work, I just went and gave it to you. But it's a skill that you should have, and really it's just creative Googling. And once you train Google and it realizes you're a developer, it's not that difficult. All right, so I now have my technical requirements. I feel like I have an okay idea of what I'm supposed to do. I don't really know, like you don't really know what Node.js is, but you don't know what Commander is. You don't know what Marvel API is. So let's open up a tab here. Okay. And let's Google Commander NPM package. All right. And then we see here, first link, npmjs.com, which stores all your information about all your public NPM packages. I see a page that's here, okay, the complete solution for Node.js command line interfaces. Inspired by Ruby's Commander API. Okay, I don't really care about that, but this is how I'm going to actually do my CLI. And look at that, they have examples. Okay, so I would go through and I would read this. I'm not going to read this because I already know, but if I was you, I go through and I read this, I look over, and I try to get something like this running on my machine. All right, so this is one of my packages. What's the other package? It said Marvel API npm package. Cool. Did someone say something? Shared screen is blurry. Is anyone else having a blurry shared screen?
Yeah, I'm having blurry over here.
Yo, why don't y'all tell me this, yo? You can unmute yourself and tell me this. Hold on. Let's do a stop share.
Honestly, I thought it was just my phone.
Let's see. We'll do share again. Share. How about now? I cut the milestone.
Mine is
So
pretty blurry.
like on mine, yeah, on mine it's like blurry too. When you first put it on, it looked like it was okay. Then it just switched back to blurry.
Okay, I did change one option, which is just optimize for full screen. Let's see if that does anything. How about now?
Yeah, that
Okay.
looks good.
Looks better?
That looks fine to me.
Yeah, it looks great.
Oh, so okay. So it's not really optimizing anything. Zoom is lying to me. I got you. All right.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Cool. So now back to business, I guess. We Googled Marvel API NPM package because I have no idea what that is. If I look back at my requirements, that's what my technical requirements said. Use Commander Marvel API. So let me look that up. I'm going to click on that, the NPM JS, and I'm going to open up the main NPM JS page here for a second. And I'm going to pause for a moment to talk about NPM, Node Package Manager. We highlighted it a little bit, right? But you can think of Node Package Manager as people have already written a bunch of code, and NPM and most package managers, NPM isn't the only package manager, but this idea in the developer community, as you'll see and be a part of, is if I build it, I'd like to share it. I want other people to benefit from what I'm building because I don't want them to have to go through the same thing. If I need to do something with Node.js, odds are someone's probably made it easier for me to do it and added an NPM package. For example, if I want to do something, with cryptocurrency or something, I don't know. Right. Just see, I've never actually looked this up, so this is going to be interesting. Create and parse cryptocurrency addresses and wallet import formats, right? They have packages all around things that have to do with cryptocurrency and stuff you can do. Or maybe I want to encrypt something, encryptor or encrypt it. Click on that. Perform encryption and decryption, process-based, right? And they've already done it. So I don't have to, I could, all the stuff that's in these packages, I could go and write myself. There's a ton of things to do, things you can do that you don't need a package for. You can do anything, but these packages will make your life a whole lot easier. That being said, you will have to be careful because you really want to be aware of and know how many packages that are external, that are third party, meaning you didn't build them. You don't know how they were built exactly. And because it can expose your app if the extension wasn't built correctly, it can expose your app to some security vulnerabilities. And there's usually some things you can look at to see. If something has a high downloads in the last week, that's usually a pretty good indicator. This is a very novel thing. It's not really used in business, so that's low. But if we go and I look up, for example, Passport NPM package, you can see there's 322,000 downloads in the last week. If 322,000 people in the last week are using it, it's probably pretty good. And I went to this specifically because this is commonly used in the industry, right? But it's past the scope of this class. So that's just an example. You want to kind of think about, don't just go using any NPM package willy-nilly. Think about what exactly you want your app to do, go through the process that we did initially of building your requirements, and then research what NPM packages would be the most helpful to you, or go write it on your own. Cool. So I have my 2 NPM packages. Is someone there? Someone have a question? Okay. Someone's mic is unmuted. Let's see. So the third one is the only one we don't really know about yet. Okay, it has to be done in an object-oriented way. So I'm going to explain that a little later because that's not a simple Google search. We're going to actually do some object-oriented programming. All right, so I'm going to save and quit out of here. I'll list this. Now I'm going to need a Node.js project. That was on my first criteria in my requirements document. I need a Node.js project. So anytime I have a Node.js project, which I know is going to be called Jarvis CLI, I need to create a directory using the make dir command, and I'm going to say Jarvis-CLI. Okay, cool. So now yeah, I just want to make sure I'm recording too, because I feel like it may be trying to juke me out. No, I'm still recording. Me and Zoom got trust issues nowadays. So I did a make dir, and I have Jarvis CLI here. Okay, that's going to be the name of the folder that's going to contain my app. And it makes sense because that's actually the name of the app. I'm going to change directories to Jarvis CLI, list the contents. There's nothing there, which makes sense because I haven't put any files in here. And this is a key part to pay attention to. Whenever you start a new project, we already went through, okay, create your GitHub repository. And really that would be, in this case, this would be Jarvis CLI repo, or you don't even have to put repo, but this may in and of itself be a repository. And inside you create your files and then you back it up. So first step, create my GitHub repository. Second step, come in here and do npm. I'm hearing some echo. Who's talking? I'm muting everybody. Everybody get muted. All right. So come in here and do npm init. This is the first step every single time. What this does is it creates a file, walks you through, and allows you to fill out what's going to be in a file called the package.json. So we're going to hit enter here, and it's going to ask me some questions. What's the package name? Jarvis CLI. Okay, cool. I accept that. That's a default. It's saying I can by default name it Jarvis CLI. By pressing enter, I'm accepting it. Version 1, let's say it's version 0.0.1. Because when it's version 1, it should be fully functional, and we haven't done anything yet. Description, a command line interface to get Avengers data. Just enter entry point. It's asking for the file that Node is going to think of as the main entry point for your project, and we'll talk about how entry points work, and it'll make more sense through application in a little bit. So I'm going to leave that at index.js. That's fine. No test command is necessary. Get repository. I already have that. Keywords. No. Author. Put your hacker alias here. Dev license. I use MIT. This goes into open source licensing. We don't really need to discuss that, but usually I use MIT, and that, like I said, you don't need to know about right now. It'll clutter what you're already learning. So okay, it gives me a chance to look over it. I say, okay, all right, yeah, that looks about right. Is this okay? Yes. I hit enter. Boom. Now when I do an ls, I see this package.json file. Well, let's look at that using VI. Package.json, and as I'm looking at it, I'm saying, okay, this is interesting. These brackets here, that looks kind of familiar. This is called, a JSON file. Okay, JSON is different from JavaScript. JSON is similar to an object that we're going to discuss. But basically, you can think of JSON as an object in the sense that it has a key, right? In the sense that the key is name and the value is Jarvis CLI, okay? And this key version and then our value. The key would be description and then our value. I'm saying this because we're about to get into objects, and this will make more sense. But JSON is pretty much an object, okay? And there's pure JavaScript objects. The one difference is these quotes, and you'll see that, but let's go ahead and quit out of here. Now the point of the package.json with npm is to manage our packages, manage our dependencies that we bring into the project. Okay, that's one of the points. There's other stuff that it can do, but for the purposes of what you're learning right now, think of it as something that can help you see and manage what packages you brought into your project and what's supposed to be used, right? And there's going to be something, I'm going to list this out, and I'm going to install these two packages that we said that we need. And another folder will pop up here, and we'll talk about that. So if I go back to these pages as a developer, I went out to the commander. In the installation, it tells me, it says npm install commander -- save. All right, let's actually type this in. And I always use I for short. I means install. npm install, I for short, commander, and then -- save, or -- save. What the -- save flag is going to do, okay, is actually make a reference in my package.json of this package. So I'm going to hit enter, and you're going to see it go through its little process. All right, added one package. Now, if I go back into my package.json, we have another section called dependencies, and within it is commander. All right. Now, if I quit out of here and I list, I have another folder. So we're going to have another folder. It's called node modules. That's actually where the package is installed. So if I cd into node modules ls, I can see commander there. And you can actually go in and look around if you want. There's all kinds of stuff that you can look at their code and how they wrote it and whatnot. Right? That's cool stuff to do in your free time. Right now, we're going to go back out here, and I need to install my other package, which is the Marvel CLI. So I'm going to go back up to my same command. I'm using the up arrow key right now. And instead of npm I commander, I'm going to npm I Marvel -API with the same -- save flag. Okay. And now my project is ready to use both of these packages within my code. Yesterday we created a example.js file. Today we're going to create an index.js file that's going to be executed the same type of way, using node.js. And then we're going to get into, because I chose Commander for a reason, because it's going to give you some even lower level perspective into changing the permissions on a file and making it executable and what that actually means. All right, so let's list out here. I need to go ahead and create my index.js, which is going to contain the brunt of our code right now. Okay, and let's see. I'm actually going to install one more package. I'm going to install one more package that is going to make our thing a little bit prettier. Let's see. I think it's called colors. Colors npm. Yeah, I think that's it. npm install colors. Let's do that. npm install colors -- save. There we go. Cool. Now let's go ahead and open something up. All right. I'm going to open up just my index.js right now, and I'm going to show you how to use the npm packages that we just imported after I show you what an object is in general, because objects are going to continue to come up from here on out, and we need to cover them now. But we're at a point, for a quick recap, where, hey, I've created a Node.js project, and I have the base of what I need to start creating my actual Jarvis CLI. Now, let's talk about objects. Yesterday, we talked about arrays, which is a data structure, and an object is another data structure, right? An array we saw was like this, that array equal, and then empty curly brackets. I mean, not curly brackets, empty brackets. And you can put whatever you want in here, you know, numbers, etc. Is it to contain a list. But object's a little different in the sense that it's not just a regular list. I can say let my object is a special word in JavaScript, so I can't actually use that. But I can say obj for short. And it starts with a curly bracket, ends with a curly bracket. I'm going to get some line separation here. So first difference, instead of straight brackets, curly brackets. And then it takes a key, like I was talking about and hinted towards earlier. Let's say my object has a name, that is a key, and then it has a value. And that object name value is just value for now. It's a string with value in it. And I can continue to do this and separate it by commas. I can say name, I can say date, you know, I think it's May 20 something, May something. And I can keep doing commas. I can do this for days, right? I can keep going, and this doesn't have to stop. This becomes very useful because as yesterday we saw that we can loop through an array and pull values out based on the index. But now with an object, I have the ability to pull data out based on the actual key, based on this key here. So let's try that. And I'm going to show you how to do that because there's a couple different ways. So I'm going to use our console.log that we've been using. And then I'm going to access my object. There's different ways to access my values on the object. I'm going to say obj dot name. This is called dot notation. Okay. And what you're learning right now is very critical. Everything in JavaScript is an object. And don't think about that too hard because it might hurt your brain. But objects are the building blocks for everything. And you will use them a ton. Basic definition is a data structure that allows you to store both keys and values, and then look up a value by key. All right, so I have my object, and right now this should bring up value. Let's see, node index, and it did. It printed out to the console value. Let's open back up. Now I can also, you know, just for being thorough, I can say date and do that again. It says May something. Okay, so it's working. It's allowing me to look up what's in my object. That's good. Now I can also access it another way using similar to where down here with my array, I can say array at index 0, and that should pull the value 1. With my object, I can use the bracket notation. Bracket notation, that's a vocab word. Okay, we've talked about dot notation, and now we're talking about bracket notation. And I can say where the key is name, because the key is kind of like the index in this situation. And this is the exact same thing. This is the exact same thing as using dot notation. And this should still give me value when I run this. And it does the exact same thing. There's actually is time that I've ran into where you have to use bracket notation, but 9 times out of 10, you can use both. And I do like dot notation a bit better. So you may say, all right, I mean, that's cool that you can look it up by value, but why does that really matter? I can define these objects and look them up by value. Well, when things really start getting interesting is when you combine them, right? So let's say I actually have, and when we hit our API, this is what you'll see, is going to return multiple objects, right? Let's say this is object 2. Let's say this is object 3. Okay, and actually let's make this make sense a little bit more, because an object is a thing, right? It really is anything you can represent. It gives you complete creative freedom to do whatever you want. An object can be an object. It can represent something in real life. So let's make these objects represent something real so that we can kind of bring this home. We'll use names. Okay. So our object will actually represent people. All right, so let's say Gerald, say Dell, let's say Corey, right? And then name, we may give the full name, Gerald Yurden. We don't really need data as a key because a person doesn't really, wait, Tristan Olsen raised hand. I've never seen that before, but what's up, Tristan? Or was that an accident? Hello? I guess Tristan accidentally hit a button. So if I'm thinking about a person, what characteristics does a person have? They may have height, right? They may have weight. Okay. What else do we got? They could have eye, color. Okay. All these things, height. Let's say, I think last time I checked, it's like 6'8" or something. So say that. And I'm actually going to use letters. And then weight, cooking somewhere around 400 pounds. So on and so forth, right? So I don't know what this is. We'll say bluish. All right, someone commented in the chat. So how I copy and paste so quickly. In the first video, we went over that a little bit, but I use a combination of Y to copy a single line and visual mode and Y to copy multiple lines. And then I can continuously press P, which is paste, and paste it multiple times. Okay, so I'll call that out next time when I'm doing it. So, all right, cool. So Dell, I don't know your last name, Dell, so I'm just gonna say Dell. And then we'll do height, say taller. You gotta be at least 6 foot, 6'1" or something like that. Corey, Pinkney, height. See, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I want you to really understand that objects represent real things. It's not just some arbitrary thing. It's supposed to be something valuable, and it should make sense when you're thinking about what an object is or what's supposed to be within an object. We'll put Corey. I think Corey's like 5'10" or something. I don't know. Cool. So, great. Well, we're gonna give you guys both a weight. Oh, so Tristan, I just did it again. I did Shift V and I highlighted a whole line because I want to copy these 2 lines. And then I did J to go down 1, and I pressed Y and it copied both lines. Now I go to the line above where I want to paste, and I hit P, and then I go back down and hit P again, and it does all that stuff. You guys
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. You guys are all going to be 400 pounds this entire time. So console.log, no, we're not going to do that now. But now I have multiple objects, and I don't want to console.log each object. So we go back to our array situation, and we go ahead and place these objects in my array. Whoa, what? It's getting serious. Then we're saying, okay, well, I have them in an array. What the heck do I do now? I just want to know everyone's full name. And Dell, I'm gonna make up your last name. Dell, AKA, we do this. I don't know. No, Dell. We can do better than that. Dell, hashtag, gang. Boom. All right. It's going to be your full name for now. Now, I want to get everyone's full name, and I don't want to get any of that other information. Well, we learned actually a building block of how to do that yesterday using loops. I need to look at these 3 objects, and then each object, I need to pull one thing from that object. So I could do this. Let's just do it just for illustration's sake. I can do Gerald dot name, copy that 3 times. All right, paste it, and then do del. And also, when you go, this is another quick tip. This is more advanced VI thing. If I go to the beginning of the word and I hit CW, it stands for cut word, and it'll actually just get rid of that whole word and already put you in insert mode. Pro tip. Gang, gang. So Corey dot name. I could do this, and it works. And just to make sure. No. Oh, whoa, whoa. Yeah, did not work. What'd I do? Oh, there's no commas. You need to separate all of these values by commas. And that's why it was screaming at me. Now, when I run it, boom, Joe Yurden, Dell hashtag gang gang, Corey Pickney. Now, I did that. That didn't take too much time. But again, remember the principle. What if I had, 1,000 objects or 1,000 people that I needed to get their full names from? That it becomes impractical very quickly. So what I'll really do, and you should do anytime you have this type of situation, is say, okay, I'm going to do a for loop, and I'm going to do x. I'm going to say var x. And let's make it more explicit. I did x yesterday. This is actually an index, right? So I'm going to do x equals 0, and then I'm going to do if index is less than, we're going to use our array dot length, right, which is going to count. It's going to count that there's 3 values. So as long as my index is less than 3, which again we learned yesterday that the index is actually going 0 base, so 0, 1, 2. Then I'm going to go ahead and execute my code that's going to be in my code block. And at the end of it, I'm going to do index +1 plus, and for shorthand, we're going to say ++. Good. So for each one of those things, I can say, my array value, again, we're going to access it via the index. So array index, which in this case, when it was 1 would be, or 0 would be Gerald, dot name. And I'll put that in a console.log so I can see it, actually do something. All right, so that should work. It should print out everyone's name again. It's still 3 lines, but it scales for way more than 3 people. I can add tons more people here, and I'll still only have to write 3 lines of code. Let's go see if it works. Node index.js. And it does. Let's out all of our full names. Oh, we got a question? Another question? Corey, I'm done with you. I just can't even. 6'5", 240. Okay. All right. I'm going to let you rock. So we have 3 lines. We've talked about objects. That's the whole basic high-level premise of this. And now I'm going to start talking about functions. And we're going to put all of this stuff together. We've learned about arrays. We've learned about loops. We've learned about functions. We've learned about all those things. The only thing we haven't learned about is object-oriented programming, which I'll give you a small introduction to before we actually build out this app. And I'm going to build out this app pretty quick because we're going to already go over a little bit, which I don't have a problem with, by the way. And even if, just so you guys know, if we need more time, I'll do a lecture again on Monday and Tuesday if I need to. I'm taking my time on purpose because this is a lot of information. So don't be afraid if I go a little bit over. That's why I'm recording and all of that stuff, right? Cool. So let's talk about object-oriented programming. I'm going to open up a new file, another quick pro tip, VI. If I do :E, it'll actually, and then type in the file name, and I'm going to do oo.js for object-oriented.js. It'll open me in a new file, and I never had to leave VI. And when I save this file, it will create a totally new file. So I'm going to add a comment and say object-oriented programming using JavaScript. Dope. Save. Now my file is written and it's being used. I'm gonna just want to make sure that this isn't being blocked off by that top level thing. So I'm gonna do this guy for right now. All right. Now, in what was I gonna say? In JavaScript, historically speaking, object-oriented programming was not a facet of it. You actually did what's called functional programming, right? Object-oriented programming involves classes, it involves constructors, it involves instantiation, all of these words, blah, blah, blah. But in JavaScript, you just wrote functions. What I showed you yesterday, you wrote functions. If you wanted something that operated like an object or operated object-oriented, you had to do all of these roundabout things. Now we have the benefit through ES6, which is JavaScript, the JavaScript standard, and it's released and they increment, right? There's ES5, ES6, all the way going back to the original ES, and then there'll be ES7, etc. So with ES6, we got some capabilities to do object-oriented programming. It's funny that your first exposure to object-oriented programming, if you haven't done it before this class, will be through JavaScript. That's kind of ironic. But it's cool because it'll give you this lightweight understanding and give you a lot of power at the same time, okay? So we understood what a normal object was. And I'm going to illustrate to you a little bit more sophisticated of an example. So let's say let's go back to my person object, right? Let's create a variable, and let's say that I'm going to keep using bar for now. I'm going to say, okay, let this variable name equal Gerald or whatever, right? And I want to be an object, and name is going to be Gerald Yurden, right? Et cetera, et cetera. But now I actually want my person object to be able to do something. Okay, I want it to do something. And what is a thing that we use within programming whenever we want to do something? That is a function. If you were thinking function, you were correct. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a key here, and let's say I want Gerald to be able to say hi. Gerald specifically to say hi. I'm going to create that. I'm going to say that this is a function. Whoa, I can have a value. I can have a value that's a function. Let me just step back for a second. We've just been doing strings. What is this? I have a value that is a function. Yes, you can do that. It's perfectly fine JavaScript. And it's what things like this that we had to do before when we wanted to symbolize this type of thought process. Okay, and I'm actually gonna go online. This next line, I'm gonna say console.log. Okay, cool. So now what I can do is I can say Gerald dot, using dot notation still to access my object. I'm gonna say hi. Okay. But because it's a function, it's a little different. I actually have to call that function. Remember yesterday we had to call the function. So there's a function value within here, but I have to call it. And that's why I add my parentheses there. So let's see if this actually works. Node index.js. Wait, oh no, it's the wrong thing. Node oo.js. I forgot to open a new file. And it says sup. Look at that. oo.js. I have an object, and now it can do things, okay? In object-oriented programming, when you have something similar to this, you would create a class. I could just go creating a bunch of objects like this, but there are some things that I can't do and that this is limited by that would take a lot of, kind of a lot of finagling around to make it operate the same way. So to avoid you having to deal with those problems, we're going to use classes. Okay, think of a class like an advanced object. It's similar, but it has some extra stuff, some stuff that makes your life easier. So instead of saying I'm going to create a Gerald object, I'm going to create a Gerald class. All right, I'm going to say class Gerald, and then do my open closing curly braces. And then now I'm going to do something interesting here that should look pretty new. I'm going to add a constructor, and I'm going to add curly braces there. What is that? All right, so let's think about it again. I have a class, which is a thing, and then I have a constructor. Within object-oriented programming, one of the benefits is I can define this class, which think of like a blueprint. I said it was an advanced object, but it's more so, even more so like a blueprint, where I can say, this is how certain things are going to be implemented when I use it in another part of my program. So to kind of sync that in, I'm going to do something. I'm going to make this available. This is the syntax required to export and make my class available to use in another file, so I can import it into another file. I'm going to still create, for illustration's sake, a say hi, the method. Okay, I'm using the term method now instead of function because it's within a class, but it's still something that contains my code and does something, but it's associated strictly to my class, my blueprint. So it's a method. And I'm a console.log sup. All right. Now, before I get too deep into the constructor, I want to emphasize this point. I'm writing this blueprint here, and I want to be able to use this code somewhere else. All right. I don't need to just be able to use this code in here. I could go down below my class and do, the whole thing here, but really one of the benefits of object-oriented programming is a separation of concerns. Okay, so I'm going to quit out of here so you can see me actually do this. I have OOJS right here. I'm going to change that name to Gerald.js. Okay, and then I'm going to create a file, and I'm going to name it peoplehub.js. Right. Cool. So I have Gerald.js. Gerald is a person that can do specific things. And I created this people hub that's going to host multiple people and allow them to interact together. So I'm going to open up people hub, and I'm going to import the Gerald class into people hub. All right, so let's say I'm going to create a variable again. I'm going to name it Gerald, and I'm going to assign that to require. This is how, this is one way that you import a package. And this, when I say package, I'm saying your own created code, right? Because it's similar syntax when we import third-party packages. And then I'm going to do dot, that stands for current directory, okay, slash Gerald.js. All right, cool. So I got Gerald equals require dot slash Gerald.js. Cool. Now I want to create Gerald. Like I want to create that person. And I'm going to do that by saying, I'm actually going to say, where are you at? I'm going to say Gerald, let Gerald equal the capital G, say new first, because this is a new Gerald. And it'll look like that. Now, this may seem a little weird to you out the gate, because in reality, there's only one Gerald that like is actually me. There's multiple people named Gerald. There's only one Gerald that's named that's me. So why would I need to create another variable? I already created the variable Gerald up here. Why do I need to create this other one? Because within programming, you can create this in multiple forms, okay? It doesn't care. This is just using Gerald as a blueprint. There can be people who have Gerald, the same characteristics as Gerald, but may not necessarily have the same name, but they can do the exact same things. Who knows? So we could have a Joshua, right? That is actually a new instance of Gerald. Wait, what? It's like that. Okay, that doesn't make sense. But does it make sense if I do this? Person. Now, we're all people, okay? I created a person blueprint, and I'm going to go change that in a second. And then now Gerald and Joshua, yeah, they're both instances of this blueprint person, but they're their own people. They do their own things, right? This is very, let this sink in for a second, because this is a very powerful concept. I can create one blueprint and use it multiple times. All right, you know, this is Dell, this is, you know, Corey, this is, everyone's a person. Right? So let's go make our code actually match this. Let's make it a little bit more generic. We'll say, instead of, let's move Gerald.js to person.js. List that out, okay. Person.js, let's open up person.js with VI. Instead of class being Gerald, now it's going to be person. A person can still say hi. That's something that a person can do. I'm not going to export Gerald anymore because that doesn't make sense. I'm going to export person. Okay. So that kind of, okay, that makes a little sense. Now, there may be things that make a person an individual, right? We're all humans. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're all the exact same. It's obvious. You can look at us and hear us speak, and we're not exactly the same. So there's characteristics that need to be constructed, right? Things that I need to give custom for each person, that when I create this instance of a person, I can then assign and differentiate between who's who. That seems like the perfect potential use case for a constructor. Right? A constructor is something that when I actually say this is a person, I can pass in information that gives my person some type of special usage, and it helps my person to define themselves and what they're going to do and how they're going to do it based on the capabilities that I define. So I'm going to say that I'm going to pass in to my constructor, and we talked about passing a little bit when we talked about functions. I'm going to pass into my constructor a personality object. This is going to be an object, okay? And then within my constructor, I'm going to say personality dot type equals, you know, actually, let me see. This dot personality dot type equals personality dot type. What the heck did I just write? What is this? Literally, what is this? Well, this in JavaScript is something pretty interesting. It's context. It actually represents everything within the person class. This dot personality dot type can be used throughout all of my methods. I can have multiple methods and use them throughout all of my methods. Whereas personality dot type and other variables that I create in different places may only be able to use within the scope. All right. So example, these curly brackets are a scope. These curly brackets are a scope. And how JavaScript handles scope is interesting. And you can't really always predict it. So with this, using the term this, we're guaranteeing that we can take this personality.type and use it throughout our entire class as much as we want, however we want. All right, so let's go over to our other file here. And I'm going to split, this is a pro tip number, you know, however many I've given you guys so far, but You can split your VI window by using the command and then vsplit for vertical split. There's also, you can just use split for horizontal split. And I'm gonna say open peoplehub.js. Whoa, game time. So I have Gerald, I have Joshua, I have Dell, I have Corey. Now I can pass in whatever this is, a personality. And I'm going to make this, what I'm passing in, an object. Now, your constructor is the part, it takes this data from what's inside these parentheses when you instantiate, when you create a copy of your person blueprint or whatever your blueprint is. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to put an object here. And in that object, it says personality, and that object has a field called type. I'm accessing it via dot notation. I actually wrote this code before it existed. I'm going to say it has a type key, okay? And that value is going to be, you know, you could say whatever, right? I don't know, they have A, B. You could also go by emotional stuff like kind, caring, whatever. We're going to leave them blank for right now until I think of what I actually want to put in there. So we have a type field that we're passing in with a value. All right. We'll say personality type outgoing. Okay. Outgoing. Then we'll say the personality type of random Joshua person is more introverted. Right. And then we'll go outgoing for my guys here too. All right. So now I have 3 or 4 people who all have, some have the same personality type, some have different personality types. Like it varies, but this starts to become a way bigger factor when you start talking about, you know, what exactly it goes into a person. Really, you're gonna have a lot more fields here, but let's just use this for right now. Let's keep it simple. So I'm gonna say, okay, I have a say hi capability, but I need to apply some logic around that. I need to add, every person isn't going to say sup when they say hi. All right, who knows? But we may be able to see based on their personality type what type of introduction they would give. So, and I'm brainstorming here, we're just spitballing, but maybe we can say that if you know, this dot personality dot type equals outgoing, they may give a more outgoing greeting. So add console dot log, you know, some super hype greeting like hi with exclamation points. You know, how are you? You know, super excited. Like picture that one person in the crowd who's smiling way too hard and way too happy to be where they are currently. This is that kind of greeting. And like get the big hug and all that. Great. Now the introverted greeting may be different. They just, you know, may hit you with the high dot, you know, a little half wave, eyes towards the ground. I don't know. I mean, these are stereotypes. It's my program, so I guess that's what people do. You know, in reality, you'd have to do a lot of research, and these conditions would be all over the place. But let's test it out. So let's go over here, and let's see what each person's greeting is. Let's say Gerald. Okay, Gerald is the instance of person. I can say hi. Okay, I can copy this the 4 times and do Joshua. I can do Dell and Corey. Cool. So now each one of my people are going to say hi, but based on my logic in a single blueprint, that could behave differently. All right, let's go out here and actually execute this and see what happens. So node people hub.js. Oh, what to do? We got a syntax error. cannot set property type of undefined. Okay. Oh, hold up. What? Why did I put two equal signs here? So that was part of the homework yesterday, but yes, that is true. I do only have one equal sign, which is accurate here because I'm assigning, but something else is off. So I'm going to say, I think it may be backwards. Personality.type equals, no, I actually don't think that's right. Constructor, personality, object. Oh, let's see what's up. Let's console.log this. Let's do some debugging, live debugging. I'm sure there's just something dumb I'm not doing. Personality.type. Right, and then we'll, for right now, comment this out. Okay. And cool. So that'll work. Let's see what's up. I'm gonna do node peoplehub.js. All right, introverted. Yeah, so all right, that worked. Now let me go back into peoplehub. So it is, well, go Joe.say hi. Okay, yeah, that's right. Yep, we're good. So now let's go back to person. It is taking personality.type, and I think I was maybe right with it being backwards. And I can say this dot personality dot type. Let's see if that works. Let's write that out. See if it throws me an error, shall we? Node people hub. Yeah, we do. Yeah, I'm doing something wrong that it's a context switching from like Go to JavaScript. So this is great though. Like I want you guys to see this because this is exactly what this type of stuff you're going to run into. And I don't really mind. It's something little, but let me go to Google and try and figure it out. So go, constructor, this syntax. Let's just say constructor syntax JavaScript. JavaScript constructors. Let's click on that. What aren't we doing? Okay, so it looks like it was kind of right. Let's do, well, this is also function. So let's look up JavaScript class. Let's see what that classes in JavaScript MDN. That's a good one. All right, yeah. So I actually did have it right. Okay. All right. So it says I have my height and my width. I'm gonna say this dot height. Yeah, that's right. All right. Let's look this up. Be split person. Let's take a look. Type. This dot personality. Okay, it's just me being slow after a long day. Equals personality, right? And then I'm gonna do this dot personality dot type equals. Actually, let's just keep it here. Let's do a test. We'll do a little test session. All right. Let's say console.log is, say hi is going to actually console.log my this dot personality. Let's see what's up. Node people hub. Oh, okay, cool. So that worked. It outlined all of my objects that I passed in to my constructor. So that proves one step that what I'm doing, I'm not crazy. Okay, good. So now if I do this dot personality type underscore type, and then do personality dot type, let's see if this does what I'm saying. All right, node people hub. Boom. All right. So that's what it was. I think I had an extra dot notation in there that I didn't really need. So now that was an example, and go back and look at that too when you run into things, because that was not planned. But how do you go about using Google and just normal thought process to work through that problem? So don't be afraid to go back and look at that as an example. And I tried not to plan every single detail of these examples for reasons like that, because I want you guys to see what really goes into doing this. So I'm gonna v-split my people hub file again. Okay, good. Is it the extra bracket? Oh, good. I haven't been looking over here, guys. I'm sorry. So if you were to answer your question, why did you put 2 equal signs here? Again, because I got a little bit distracted. I put 2 equal signs because it's actually looking for equality here. When I use 1 equal sign, it's just assigning, okay? This is just looking for a kind of a value equality. A little bit looser than 3. If I put 3, then it's actually going to check the type as well, but usually 2 is enough. For some circumstances, you will need 3 equal signs though. So don't think of 1 equal sign as actually meaning this equals that. Think of 1 equal sign as saying this is assigned to this value. Okay. So I'm going to replace this dot with the under bracket. Okay, delete that. Now, and I'm going to do this so I don't have to keep going in here. I'm going to actually open a third window, and I'm going to go here, list out, demonstration repo, Java CLI, and I'm going to do node peoplehub.js. And look at that. See, and I wanted you to see, once you see all this at the same time, so I'm executing people hub, it hits my first line, Gerald.say hi. When I defined Gerald, when I actually created the Gerald person, I put his personality type as outgoing. Let's go to the top over here so you can kind of see what this is happening every time. So I created Gerald person. It references the person blueprint, the person class, passes in that personality object. Within my constructor, I actually take that personality type that was stored within that object and use it to do some logic down here. I actually take it in a method and say, okay, well, I can take this data based on this person and make a decision on how they may respond to, or how they may say hi to someone. And it goes line by line in this particular circumstance, and it sees that Joshua is an introverted type. And based on our logic that we defined, he would just say hi with a couple dots, see? So on and so forth, each line. I hope you guys are kind of seeing how this could be a powerful concept. And this is one of the requirements for our Jarvis CLI. Let me look at what the topic is tomorrow. I'm thinking that we may do a lecture on Monday too, because I don't want to rush this with you guys. Tomorrow is modern web programming. I think we're going to continue going ahead with the Jarvis CLI tomorrow. And I appreciate you guys taking the time, and we're going to push out, and I'm going to do another lecture. I have no problem doing another lecture for you guys and recording that. So does anyone have any questions here? Because I just covered a lot, and I want to give you some time. Does anyone have a question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So can you have multiple constructors per object
Per class, you cannot have
or per
multiple
class?
constructors.
Okay.
No, you can only have one constructor. That's a good question.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? No? Okay. So tomorrow, we're going to really go into the Jarvis CLI, and we're going to create the Jarvis CLI in this fashion. We're going to use classes. We're going to have methods, right? And we're going to use those methods in our program, which is going to be like how this one is, in another file, right? Instead of writing all this code in one file, we're going to take, and this is another key word, a modular approach, right? So that one file, we could write all of this code in one file, but we separate it so that we can easily go back and work on these smaller, more manageable pieces. Okay, good. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna go ahead and try and get this uploaded for you guys. Thanks for the feedback, Sean, on the video. I'm hoping that today is not going to be that way. I tried a couple things to make it a little better. So again, when you watch the video, because someone said that it's blocking or what have you, that's not supposed to do that. So let me know, and I'll continue to work on that. All right. So good lecture, everyone. And the TAs should be available. Sean will not be available tonight, but if you guys don't have your environments, you guys should all have your environments by now. I think everyone, when I checked with him, did have their environment and was connected via SSH. Practice this, practice what we learned yesterday, and continue to hone your skills. Okay. And if you need help, reach out to, we have Cody tonight. So Cody's back. Cody Ford, reach out to Noah, reach out to Corey, and they'll get it done for you. All right. And TAs, do you have anything for everyone? Nope. All right. Great. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll send out an email with the time for the lecture.